Okay. Can we film this? You skipped a bullet. You're down here now. You're the one who wanted notes, and you're not following the notes.
It's flowing.
This is not flow.
I'm going to get there.
The only thing that's flowing is the shit out of my ass.
I'm going to get... whereas had you intervened, it would have just been an O-ring that needed to be replaced. However, now the entire faucet needs to be replaced.
What?
Like the little O-ring on the inside of the
That sounds like a sex toy. Hi there, we have these marvelous O-rings from adamandeve.com. How much fucking money did you make? Zip. Zip-a-rooney. How much money you making? I don't know.
We made money. It just wasn't at the flow and level of what we're making now. That brings me back to, stop it, don't, you fucking didn't do that, did you?
I did do that.
My God, you're such a bitch. Are we gonna have like a jingle? A BnBitches jingle. Did you know, BnBitches makes you riches.
I'm Connor Ashley.
And I'm Carla Chas.
We're the mother-son real estate and design duo. What it's like to own an Airbnb property, what it's like to run one, how to run one, where you need to go from here, and also talk about the design aspect of it.
We are here to help you invest in properties.
Real estate business and design. Now, you can make a lot of money doing this.
We're your people. We are your bitches, actually.
Hi everyone, I'm Connor Ashley.
And I am Carla Chavez.
And this is the BnBitches Podcast.
Where BnBitches brings you riches.
Alrighty, so today we're going to be talking about rental options. So this includes, month-to-month sublets, short-term rentals, and long-term rentals. And we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. When you have a property and you're no longer going to be living there, whether you were ever intentionally going to live there or not, you got to decide what you're going to do with it.
Yep. So that's what today's podcast is all about. So we are the mother-son, you got to come closer,
mother-son real estate and design team duo.
Not team. When did you add team in there?
Oh, team.
We are the mother-son real estate and design duo. We are BnBitches. You can go to our website. It's BnBitches.com. That's BnBitches.com. You can check us out on all of our social media and our YouTube channel where we have videos over there.
Where BnBitches will bring you riches.
Totally. You already said that. Let's just get into the fucking podcast. Alrighty.
So, I have a property that I just bought.
Okay, Billy Mays.
And I need to decide what to do with it.
I'll tell you what you're gonna do with it.
Let's figure that out together.
Alrighty. So, let's just start with long-term properties. Let's go over what the pros and the cons are of owning a long-term rental property.
Sure. If you decide to rent out your property to one person for an extended period of time, that's considered long-term renting. And basically there are some positives and there's some negatives. And some of the positives are basically you only have to deal with one person.
That's also a con though, because you only deal with one person. And if that person sucks, you're fucking stuck with them.
Right. If they're amazing though, you're in good shape, right? If they pay on time, if they're quiet, if they don't hassle you, if they don't bug you over maintenance issues, it could be a pro. So we're gonna actually put that in both pro and con columns for now. But
I see it more as a con because you're stuck with that person. Personally, but pro and con, okay, let's do it. That was not in the notes. Alrighty. Next one is there's obviously less profit. So why on earth would you do a long-term rental?
Because there's also less work. I still get to have a little income, but I don't have any output of work.
Well, you gotta work to make money. So do you want to work or do you want money?
Well, and that's basically what somebody, when they have a property, needs to decide.
Right.
Do you want to make
that's where
money?
we can come in, if you have a long-term rental but you want to make more money. Turning it into a short-term rental will make more money, but it's more work. And that's where, we come in as co-hosts and consultants to help with that.
To help offset some of those, more intensive work on the host's end or on the person who's deciding to either short-term or long-term rent. One of the other benefits of long-term renting is little to no upfront costs, aside from, of course, acquiring the property. Once you've acquired it, really, you don't have to, you just rent it out.
You skipped a bullet. You're down here now. You're the one who wanted notes, and you're not following the notes.
It's flowing.
This is not flow.
I'm going to get there.
The only thing that's flowing is the shit out of my ass.
I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there.
So you're going to go up in the flow?
Little upfront cost. You need to have a lease. You need to figure out how to get a tenant. And that's pretty much it. Once you've acquired the property, right?
Yeah, once you've acquired the property, if you have the property, then you don't pay any money for anything.
Exactly.
Download a fucking lease online and you're set.
Yep, and
right?
upload an ad to Craigslist.
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty much how that works.
But you're not gonna make no money either, in my opinion.
Your profits are gonna be minimal at best. However, one of the cons is more wear and tear generally happens on a property once you have a long-term tenant in there. Why is that, do you think?
Well, they're there all the time, and it's the same person there all the time. So if they're a dirty person and they don't clean on a consistent basis, then when they move out, you might have to replace, the sink, the tub, all that stuff. Also, they spend the majority of their lives inside of their home, like most people do. Even if you're out and about on the weekends, you're still spending a good chunk of time at the home.
Sure. In the evening, after work, when you wake up, you're going to shower, you have somebody at least, on the weekends, you have someone there most of the time. And so the property does incur certainly more wear and tear from that person. Also their guests, because they're going to have people that come and visit, whether it's just a friend hanging out or
parties.
Parents or potentially some parties. So, essentially, just the property itself, the sinks, the tubs, the toilets, the floors will all incur additional wear and tear just from people being there, essentially.
Yeah. And for not being able to, upkeep and maintain very frequently, because you can't just barge in whenever the hell you want. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
To fix something or check on things or patch something up before it gets worse. You can't really do that.
Right, exactly. And whether or not even the tenant's going to tell you when and if that happens. So say a leak springs in the faucet and they know, shit, my landlord's going to have to come in and fix this. And so they're going to push it off and push it off and push it off until maybe it gets annoying enough that they need to have somebody come in and fix it, at which point it might be a bigger problem. Whereas had you intervened, it would have just been an O-ring that needed to be replaced. However, now the entire faucet needs to be replaced.
What?
Like the little O-ring on the inside of the
That sounds like a sex toy. Hi there, we have these marvelous O-rings from adamandeve.com.
How do you know what adamandeve.com is?
How do you know what adamandeve.com is?
I'm just assuming what it is because of how you positioned that.
Okay, we're going to move on.
Anyway, we'll move on to that. So, with all of that said, though, it does equate to the owner of the property having much less work on their end. Because A, you don't need to go there every day. B, what you don't know ain't gonna need to be fixed, right? So even if you've got a leaky faucet,
ain't gonna need to be fixed.
Even if the roof is leaking, until your tenant tells you, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is less work for you, but I don't know. Why would anybody want to do that? They're not gonna make it. You did it. How much fucking money did you make? Zip. Zip-a-rooney. How much money you making? I don't know.
We made money. It just wasn't at the flow and level of what we're making now. In some cases, it isn't always.
True. oh, it's always about money. No, it's always about money. But in some cases, there's limits on renting and different things like that, and long-term renting might be your only option.
Correct.
So you need to, milk that for everything that it's worth,
Absolutely.
Which you did not succeed at, considering you lowered your rent every single year.
There's a, philosophy out there that if you get a really good tenant in and you get your rent check on time and they are struggling a little to maintain that rent check and they ask you to lower it, you lower it.
And you say, get the fuck out. Because I can get $200 more a month. Anyway. But, everyone's situation is different, and that is an option. And if you came to us with a property, we'd figure out the best option. And if that happens to be the best option, we're going to spin it so that it's the most profitable. And I think that's how everybody should do.
Is that a bug?
No, you scared the shit out of me. That hurt my neck. No, it's just some bark.
All right. That brings me back to, stop it. Don't. You fucking didn't do that, did you?
I did do that.
My God, you're such a bitch. It comes back to what, as a property owner, what is your goal? Because in some cases, it might be just to hold that property and have the equity grow. Right. And with as little work as possible on their end, they want to cover the mortgage, and that's about it. Yeah. That would be the best option for that person if that's what their goal is.
Yeah, if that's what their goal is, and in certain situations and in certain real estate markets,
sometimes that's the only option.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get into
I think actually we should get into that now. I think we do short term now and kind of come back to the other one because that's more of a middle, almost like a hybrid of the two. Yeah. And so we've already discussed kind of what long term renting looks like, and you can do that in a number of ways. When we say long term, it could be a year lease, it could be a 6-month lease, it could be a 2-year lease. I mean, there's lots of different ways you can make that long term, but we're talking longer than a month at a time, essentially, is what long term means. So, but now we're going to discuss what's considered short-term renting, or sometimes people call them vacation rentals. Yep. But essentially it's by the night. You're renting your place, whatever it may be, whether it's an apartment, a condo, a townhouse, a house, but you're renting it by the night. Mm. Take on over.
Yeah. I had a thought and then you just kept going, so I forgot what it was. In the situation that I was explaining where it's, a decreasing... What the fuck are you doing?
This is hurting my back. There we go.
You sure are old. Alrighty. 50's hitting real hard, huh? Shh.
I'm not even close to that.
You're close. Closer than you want to believe.
I'm not even close to that.
But what I'm saying is there is no cash flow with a long-term rental, or if there is, it's so very little that at that point it's not worth it. Do you see what I'm saying? At that point, if your home is not rising tremendously in value, I don't know that holding on to that is going to be the best option for you. You might have to put in a couple years' work until it bounces back, and then you can go back to short-term renting or long-term renting.
Sure.
So in that interim, switching to something that gives you more cash flow to make up for the non-increase in equity, I think is going to be better than holding on to a long-term rental, or renter, in my opinion.
Sure, if you have the time, the energy, the resources, I mean, a lot of people may want to or may not want to. It really, again, just goes back to what are your goals. And a lot of times people hold on to properties, that is their retirement. Like, they're holding it just to hold it.
But you can also hold it, right? And bring somebody like us in who's going to manage it for you.
Correct.
And you get a shit ton more money, cash flow, while you're still holding on to that property, and you're going to sell it when you retire,
so
right?
What you're saying is it's the same result. You have the exact same result, less outlay because I've hired these people to do the work for me, so I'm still not doing any of the work, or
you're
very
still
little.
going to make more money than you would.
And I'm still going to make more money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I guess I definitely have a favoritism towards the other two options as opposed to long-term renting.
Oh, for sure.
For that, I guess I don't see, even if I don't want to do the work, the money that you're going to be making, you can use to hire somebody to do that work for you and you're still going to be making more than you would with a long-term rental.
It depends on your market, but yeah, I mean, if down in Pueblo, do you think a condo?
Well, no, absolutely not. If you're not in, a major city that people actually want to go to,
exactly,
then it's not going to happen.
I think you have to, but I mean, it could too. Like, I actually found a listing last night in Eckert, Colorado. I don't even know where freaking Eckert is. I never even heard of it. And it's a little cabin. It's in Delta, which is out by Grand Junction, I believe. And she's renting a little cabin for like $75 a night.
Yeah.
So, I do think you have to know your market.
Right, and there's ways to market things and spin things off in different ways. If you're in the middle of fucking nowhere in a rundown ass town, okay, we'll come to my fucking... There's probably not a lot of
hotels
exactly.
either. Yep, and you might be able to get some of that business,
or hey,
for sure.
Why don't you come visit this fucking ghost town where nobody lives, or come to this farm, super serene, you won't, just come relax, chill.
It's a getaway, escape from everything, kind of.
You can always spin and market things, in your favor, I think.
For sure.
But sometimes it's hard to get there, and that's where people like us come in to help figure out how
you need to spin it. Right. Yeah, and how you need to maximize and make it work for you, for sure. But let's discuss some of the benefits of doing that. So if you decide, maybe short-term renting is for me, what are some of the pros and cons of doing that? Well, we've already discussed, you've said it a million times, profit, profit, profit. It's certainly going to increase your cash flow from a month-to-month basis in relation to a long-term rental situation. Right. With that being said, you...
Again, are going to have more work.
Exactly. Right. More work means, or more profits generally means more work. So it's going to be a more intensive scenario for you in getting it day-to-day things done that need to be done in the rental unit. All right. So, however, just like we discussed with, more profit, more work. However, one of the biggest benefits is if you get one of those guests, and if you didn't see our last podcast, you got to check that out, because we did talked about some of the horror guest stories that we've had, or some of the unique guests, I think I said. Basically, you're not stuck with a crappy guest. Right. Whereas
they'll be gone in a day or 2 days. Or
3 or 5, or whatever you decide. And you can set limits on some of those things, but you're not stuck with them. So if you don't like somebody, or they play their music too loud, you're only going to be sitting listening to it for a day or two. It's not as big of a deal.
Yep.
So you get a lot of turn. I also think not only is that a benefit, not getting stuck with a shitty guest, but getting to meet all sorts of cool people from all over the world is a pretty nice way to get to know different people and different cultures. What else?
Yeah. Let me look at the notes.
Keep the notes down. Yeah. Okay, so less...
Wait, I'm just trying to get it focused on me. Alrighty.
You've got a pretty severe line of demarcation there on your hair. You know what that is?
Yeah, I do. Thanks. Great.
Well, it was just, right there on the camera.
At least I don't have gray hair. Anyway, so with a short term, and I guess we need to sort of explain what a short term rental is, because we explained what a long term rental. What is a short term rental? A short term rental is just that. It's a short term renting, vacation rental, where people book for a day, 2 days, a week, 2 weeks.
Generally speaking, it's under 7 days, I think, is referred to as a short-term rental. You might get the off guess that says 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something along those lines, but it's generally 7 days or less is what is considered short-term renting.
And a short-term rental is sort of goes in hand with Airbnb, Home Away, VRBO, all of those different platforms where you essentially book short-term rentals, aka vacation
or where you market your rentals as well, if you're a property owner, for sure.
And I mean, one of the main benefits of having a short-term rental, in my opinion, is there is less wear and tear. Yes, you have more people going in and out, on a more consistent basis, but you also yourself or the people you hire are in there on a more consistent basis. So if something breaks, or if something, gets fucked up or whatever, it can be rectified immediately, or almost immediately. Also, you're going to be in there in, your cleaners or whoever you've hired, or yourself, you're going to be in there cleaning, scrubbing, after each guest, which I think shows that there's less overall wear and tear on the property because you have more control of the property.
Absolutely, absolutely. And most of the time when guests are visiting a short-term rental for whatever number of days that they've decided to stay, it's because they want to go out and experience wherever they're at, whatever place they're in. If it's here in Colorado, it's going to be up in the mountains, it's going to be skiing, it's going to be at Red Rocks, it's going to be hiking, it's going to be biking, all of those things. If you're in, New York City, it's going to be Rockefeller Center, it's going to be Times Square, it's going to be those types of things. So they're not inside. They're not draining the resources of the property. They're out having fun. And so, yeah, they're going to come back, take a shower. Yeah, they're going to come back, lay their head down on the bed. But other than that, that's what the extent. Yeah. And then, like Connor said, when you get in there the next day to get it cleaned up for your next guest, you're going to notice if there's a leak or maybe roof leak or a faucet leak or any type of thing that could potentially damage your property.
Right. Yeah. One of the other sort of benefits is that you're going to have, it's a more creative outlet, I'd say, than a long-term rental because it's more involved in general. And you can look at that as a positive or negative, but there's much more creativity involved with it. So you have, the interior design, you have the furnishing of property.
Yep. And staging every time.
Right.
I mean, I really,
exactly.
When I go in to do a turnover, I love the staging part of it. I mean, of course, nobody likes cleaning, but you got to get that done. So you get your cleaning done, you change your sheets, but then how are you going to lay those towels, in a manner that's pleasing for the guests when they walk in the door? How are you going to set that kitchen towel in the kitchen just so it looks nice when they come in? There's lots of different ways.
I don't give too much of a shit about that. But
there's lots of different ways that you can be creative to stage your property to make it pleasing.
You think they go in and they go, oh, how lovely, my towel is folded perfectly. Or do you fold it like an elephant?
I actually think they do. No, I don't.
No, yeah, no.
I've watched tutorials of how to do.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have.
I've thought about it. They have a whole tutorial about how to fold your towels as animals. Animal towel folding videos.
Maybe we should watch one and try to do it. That'd be a funny video.
A DIY. Yeah.
Well, you guys can check out that video at some point. Whenever
Maybe
the hell
that'll
that's
be
out.
down the road. With that all being said, it is more creative, it is more profitable, but it is more work as well. I mean, the fact is, whether you've got someone staying there one night and you've got to go the next day, or 4 nights, you've got to go 4 nights later.
There is also more upfront costs and more revolving costs. You have more cash flow, you have more costs, clearly. But with a long-term rental, you're not furnishing the property.
No, you're not supplying the toilet paper either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas with an Airbnb, you are upfronting those costs of furnishing the property and designing the property.
Yep.
And that can get kind of costly, and especially if you're not working with a design service or anything like that, like us, managing those costs can be pretty difficult.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we have a ton of tips and tricks on how to get,
less expensive items to fill your space
and furnish your property for little to no money, so that upfront cost is less. But
absolutely. We also have some tips and tricks too on those consumable supplies like toilet paper, like paper towel, like napkins, like soap, all of those things that guests do expect.
Those are revolving costs that you're going to have to, almost on a monthly basis replenish, which is you wouldn't have to do that with a long-term property.
Absolutely not. But there are ways to kind of manage those costs and keep them in a reasonable ballpark for yourself, because although guests expect that they're there, the quality of what you put in there isn't necessary. The expectation can vary depending on how much
you're charging
and what the property looks like, and those all kind of go together. Yep. And we can help you figure all that out together.
Well, if you're making more money with your property, if it's a higher end luxury property, you're probably spending more money on those consumable products or spending more money on those design services. And sometimes it's hard to gauge, where you need to be at for what your price. So if you have a luxurious condo in wherever the most expensive place in your neighborhood in Beverly Hills, your costs are going to be a lot different, and your guests are going to expect a lot different things than somebody would at an $80 a night property.
Absolutely.
And sometimes there are still ways that you can sort of offset those costs, and okay, we'll throw in this lower quality thing here, but do a really high quality product here, to, balance it all out. But that's sort of where our design service comes in and can help you with that. And an Airbnb consulting service, we've worked on higher end properties, lower end properties, shared spaces, private spaces, and it all has its little caveats, I think. So
yeah. So one of the things that we didn't discuss, now that we've talked about long-term renting, the benefits of that, short-term renting, the benefits of that, there's sort of a hybrid, or what I consider more of a hybrid, I guess. But it is considered more of a month-to-month rental, but you're still furnishing the property. You're still putting some upfront costs in to get it set up and ready to go, but you're not doing it by the night.
Right. So this is more of a sublet. And it's a month-to-month sublet.
And in many cases, it could depend on the laws or rules of what you're working, of the context of where you're working. So municipalities will have certain rules, and we're going to have a podcast on that later on down the road. But your city may have a rule, your county may have a rule, and you need to make sure you're following all those rules as well as your HOA.
With this option, the month-to-month sublets, that's usually the happy medium.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Where if Airbnb is completely outlawed, that doesn't mean you have to stick to long-term renting.
Right.
There's ways to get around that.
Absolutely.
And still make a larger profit than you would long-term renting.
Yep. And you would just need to know those rules, and we can help you get in there and figure those out. There's lots of different places that you need to do research, I guess, so for lack of a better word, to figure out, okay, what are these rules and how can we maximize your profit yet stay within the context of those rules, and making sure that we're doing that. So, but essentially, if, let's say, sometimes in certain places, it'll say nothing under 30 days.
Right.
And so you have to then do a month-to-month.
So that's where that comes in. You either have the option of doing the long-term or doing the month-to-month sublet. And one of the benefits of the month-to-month subletting is it is more profitable because you're still offering more flexibility, more amenities than a long-term rental. And I think that's sort of it's exactly that, the happy medium of the two.
It really is, because even though it still has some upfront costs, and even though it still has some upfront work on your end, it's not going to be as intense as that complete true short term.
And, your cash flow is going to be less, but your revolving expenses are going to be less too than with a long-term or an Airbnb.
Generally speaking, on those month-to-month sublets, you're not supplying the toilet paper, you're not supplying the shampoo. Your guest or tenant, or however you want to refer to them, are going to be supplying those things for themselves, typically. So, but another one of the benefits...
What?
Right here. Let me show him. You're not stuck.
Oh, yeah. Again, it goes back to how Airbnb benefits, or short-term rentals have this benefit as well, as you're not going to be stuck with a shitty fucking person for the length of a lease like a long-term. So you're not stuck with somebody for a year until they fucking move out.
They're going to be there maybe 30
days.
Yeah.
So, and there is still a market for this sort of property. People are moving to where you live. People are coming and working for a month. They want a home. They want, They don't want to be in a hotel during that time. A lot of times students will come and do internships for, particularly in the medical field, I think pharmacists and doctors and nursing, and all of those different students have longer sort of work periods. Might be a contract for 10 weeks. It could be 3 weeks. It could, anywhere in that realm, but it's going to be longer than a few nights, but shorter than a year's lease. And so they can't go somewhere. And plus they don't have furniture. They're coming to work for 12 weeks. Now what are they going to do? They're going to bring their furniture? No. Or are they going to go to a fucking hotel and spend an outrageous amount of money?
Exactly.
Probably
and not have the comforts of home. You're not going to be able to cook a meal. You're not going to be able to, take a bath.
Yeah. So that's where this month-to-month sublet comes in, is you're marketing to these people who are coming to work or moving here and need a place to stay until they find a place, or, students.
Are staying for an extended period of time, but not a year or 6 months, but
Yep.
it is an extended period of time still.
Now, like you said, there is a little bit more upfront cost because you still have to furnish it. You still have to design it. Now, it doesn't have to be as high-end or as nice as probably a short-term rental or an Airbnb, because you're not adding those little personal touches that make it feel like home, because it's not home. You know, it's a month-to-month sublet. It's not a vacation rental.
Right. Well, and frankly, they're going to bring those little
Exactly.
pieces in to make it feel like home for themselves. And I think that's where that sort of equal medium is. Your long-term tenant brings everything in. Your short-term tenant, you bring everything in and set it up like home. Whereas your sort of mid-term, that hybrid tenant is going to be the one to kind of make it feel like home. You're just sort of giving them the shell
Yep.
to do so.
Another one of the benefits with this is it's going to be less work than a short-term rental, but a little bit more work than a long-term rental, because you know you're finding tenants on a more consistent basis, but you're not doing turnovers, you're not sending checkout information, you're not dealing with Airbnb, you're not dealing with all those things that a typical Airbnb host would deal with.
Absolutely. Once your property's wrapped up for 10 weeks, 12 weeks at a time, it's going to be, you know, you're not going to be getting many inquiries or questions about it. Whereas on the short-term rental platforms, you may, you know, have a guest staying there for 3 nights, and then somebody looking 3 weeks from now has a question about something.
Yeah.
Do you have stairs? Do you have this? Do you have that? And they're going to be inquiring. And so you've got lots of inquiries coming in. But when your property's off the market for 12 weeks, you're not going to have that happening as often.
Again, there's less work, less cash flow, less money than a vacation rental property would.
But a really good option when Airbnb isn't allowed, or when short-term rentals are
Or when you're
outlawed.
just you can't handle an Airbnb, but you still have some time for.
Yeah, it might be a great way too, just to sort of dip your toe in the water
Yeah.
before you actually go all the way, so to speak.
What the fuck was that? What
All the way.
before you go in all the way.
Before you go all the way. So might
Before
be a
you
really
go
good
all
way
in.
to just dip your toe in and test the market a little bit and figure it out. And we've actually done this with clients before where they may want to try it, but they're a little nervous, and so we kind of do this first to get them used to the idea, to get them used to seeing sort of more people coming in and out of their
More
property.
workload and more.
And a heftier workload, yeah. And then they're a little easier to sway into the short-term rental after that.
Yeah.
Before you go all the way. All right.
I mean, I think that about wraps it all up.
I
right?
think it wraps it up. We've covered short-term renting, long-term renting, and the hybrid model.
Alrighty, guys, if you're interested in any of our services, you can go to BnBitches.com. That's the letter B, the letter N, and then bitches.com. Once again, that's BnBitches.com. You can see all of our properties on there, book our properties, partner with us, hire us as your co-host, or check out any of our other consulting services. And don't forget to check us out on all of our social media, which will be in the description box, but it is just at BnBitches.
Except on Twitter.
Except on Twitter,
It's
the BnBitches.
because we are the BnBitches.
Alrighty, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
We'll
and
see
we'll
you next
see you
week.
next week. Keep being bitches.
Bye-bye.